Is the new game any good, or the trailers and the featurettes any good? I'm going to tell you all about it, so stay with me. But if you want to know about real ninjas and real history, get yourself a copy of the Book of Ninja. And if you want to know how to use that philosophy, get yourself How to Be a Modern Samurai. So let's have a look at these featurettes.
With our dual protagonists, we have two fantasy, the samurai and the shinobi. We want the player to experience both, and we cannot squeeze both fantasy into one character because samurai and shinobi came from a different social class. They have different lives, so we cannot really mix them together.
Mate, whoever you are, that is the wrongest statement that anyone has ever said. That is the wrongest thing. The samurai and the shinobi are exactly from the same social class. It's absolute nonsense. The shinobi were samurai. Shinobi is a job, samurai is your social class. So actually, shinobi is not a social class, and they didn't come from a different social class. They were totally from the same class, and we're going to get onto that in a bit. So that is the wrongest, weirdest statement ever, and that's literally just reading 1990s internet articles. You should have got one of my books.
The historical character of Yasuke presented a really exciting opportunity for the narrative team. We approached it in the same way that so much of the work is done in Assassin's Creed, which is really in terms of research and history first. Not a lot is known about him, but what we did know, or we do know, is that he arrived in Japan in 1579, right when our game starts. And that he had relationships with some of the most interesting people in our setting, like Oda Nobunaga, the Portuguese, and Jesuits, which made it very sort of tantalizing and enticing from a narrative perspective to come in and start weaving these facts with story in between.
We've just watched The Shogun, right? The Shogun was amazing. A white lad goes into Japan, finds his way through society and goes up there. Everybody loved it, no problem. So why can't we do it with a black man? Absolutely can. Yasuke is a real guy, real history, but they don't do that, do they? They never do it. It's not like, here's Yasuke and he's got to work his way up the sort of ladder and these are the problems. He's bouncing around in Japanese society until Japanese society grip him and use him because he's used his wife. No, he's just a big guy and he's mint. Start from scratch. Yeah, mint. It never, unless the game plays it like that. But anyway, Yasuke is real. There's no reason we can't have a black man here. But what they've made is a real problem. Is they've gave you the idea that for years that they're going to do an Assassin's Creed in Japan as shinobi, and you're like, oh my god, I can run around as a little Japanese ninja. No, oh no, I'm a big black guy or a woman. Main audience is male players, yeah, mainly, and probably 99% isn't it male? Realistically, let's be honest. And it's like, I don't know what the actual percentage is. You tell me, guys. Well, let's say it's males who are going to want to around as either a girl or they can't run around as a ninja. He's not a ninja in this. He is the warrior. They've already said that. So your only option as a ninja and playing the Assassin's Creed assassin in this game is to play a girl.
The more we read about the character, the more he was inspiring for us. He's a foreigner discovering Japan, and we thought it's the perfect fit because he's discovering Japan and you are discovering Japan also.
And on the flip side, we have Naue, who comes from the province of Iga, which is a remote mountainous area, fiercely independent, known as the birthplace of shinobi. So they're very contrasting perspectives that really expose a lot of different sides and facets of the era.
Okay, guys, I am not a massive computer game player. I've got friends who play computer games, but I don't personally play them, and I've seen people play Assassin's Creed, and I've got a general idea of what it is. So, but I'll give you more about that in the end. But basically, this is one of those statements that you can make that's true and not true at the same time. Does Iga have mountains around it? Yes, it does. Is it isolated? Well, it's isolated if you try and walk there, like anywhere is isolated in the countryside. Is it cut off from the rest of the world and they formed a different society? No, not at all. Not in the slightest. In fact, it's got major highways going through it, and there was a massive pottery trade to the capital city, and there was a slew of good theatre actors from there. Does it sound like the remote mountainous place? No, it's a defensible place in the mountains on the main route to the capital where espionage was perfected, not born. Perfected. It was not born in Iga.
When Oda came, he completely destroyed Iga. You have Yasuke and Oda that coming to destroy the shinobi. So it can kind of create this interesting tension between two characters.
We were able to connect her to the province of Iga and the legendary Igan shinobi historical figure, Fujibayashi Nagato, who's her father in the game. So we understand why she has the skills that she has and the values that she learns from her father in the people of Iga, which are valor, benevolence, and wisdom. And as a young person still at the start of the game, we get to see now we acquire even more of that wisdom as the story unfolds.
Right, they're using famous ninja characters out of 1960s semi-research. Some of the names are real, but this idea you've got like the three great tuning game, the three great ninja leaders and all that, and I was dragged into a documentary that did the same thing. They just picked them. There's no truth in these sort of things. And the Fujibayashi, right? Basically, Fujibayashi is a famous name in the world of the ninja because of this. This is the Book of Ninja, the Bansen Shukai, Japan's premier ninja manual, translated by my team. And basically, Fujibayashi is famous because of that. And afterwards, what they did in the 1950s, 60s is they went back through all when the ninja craze happened, all the names that were associated with ninja and just made up some crazy history about it. So the names are real. So he could really be there. He could have really taught his daughter all this. There's no problem with that. But let's be honest. When somebody said we're going to play Assassin's Creed and your audience is male, what are you putting a girl in it for? Like that. That's not as the main character. Now, do we all remember the only computer game I ever really played? I bought a PlayStation for it from my friend for £20 because it had the Tenchu game. And you could play Ricky Maru or the girl. And it was fine that you had another alternative to play. Here, play the girl. No problem. Nobody ever done. No, you know, my friends would finish it in one and then finish it because they wanted to finish it with two characters. But nobody ever went, I'm just going to pick the girl and play her, because there'll be the odd person that says, I did. But let's be honest, 99.999% of people want to be into the game, a cool guy, being a ninja, a little 4'8" Japanese guy creeping along like that, because they were about 4'10", the ninja, if you're picking your creepy ones, and the rest of them were 5 foot to 5'2". You know, if you really want to go, if you're going down the small, and they're, you know, that way. They're actually known as... Anyway, I'm going too far into ninja history.
And if you ask anybody, it's super clear that samurai will be combat heavy and a shinobi will be stealth heavy. It creates this distinction right away. Yasuke can fight with all his advantage, his stature, like he's a big guy, he can break door, he can fight multiple enemies, he can break armor. Compared to Naoe, like her character and their outfit, it's really about being stealth, being unseen. She's the only one with the hidden blade, so they have clear advantage that put them into the stealth and the combat, even if they can do a bit of both.
Ninjas are stealthy, samurai are combat. Broadly, yes, but ninjas are not stealthy because of the way they fight. They don't fight stealthily. It's not like, you know, I get it, you want to play a game, so this is where you've got to do it. It's just a game, right? And people want to play a cool game, and everybody wants to assassinate someone in the game. We're all, I'm no problem creeping up and killing people. But I do draw the line at, like, they move in a stealthy way. No, if somebody's trying to whack you with a sword and you're trying to whack them back, you don't do it any differently. You do it the same as they're doing it. If you're creeping through corridors, you're stealthy. If somebody's shouting and trying to kill you, you don't stealth about. Shh, shh, you'll wake the neighbours. Shh. No, stop it. Once the alarm has gone, a shinobi is a warrior who fights the same as everybody else with the same weapons. Oh my god. It just annoys me. They're stealthy when they fight. Who fights stealthy? It's a silly concept. It blows my mind, this. It should be an amazing juxtaposition between the stealth, the crap hits the fan, and the next thing out, the tachi comes out, because they infiltrated with tachis as well. Bang, bang, you know what I mean? All the way through. And blow the whistle, extra guys come in, because they did use whistles, they communicated with whistles. You should have hired me. And the next thing is, and the doors are locked, the samurai's trying to get out, but the doors are locked, so he has to smash through it and all this stuff, because the shinobi, you've seen her lock the doors, or her oppos lock the doors because she's in a shinobi clan. Oh my god, they just could have done this so much better.
They're a really great pair together, because on one side we have Naue, who's very intense and passionate and determined woman who is very set on her goals. She's kind of got her heart on her sleeve, and she'll say what she feels in the heat of the moment. And this intensity that she brings as a shinobi, but that she also brings to her relationship. And this balances very well with Yasuke, who is sort of a thoughtful, level head to Naue's fiery passion.
Let's be honest, you can see, we all know what they've done here. You've got the passionate, independent female who doesn't take no for an answer, and you've got the level-headed, gentleman-like African man, okay? We know what they're doing. We all know what's happening, don't we? Do you know what I mean? You know, all the other people in it will be horrible, and these two will be perfect. It's never an issue. This is the bit that gets me. It's never an issue that anybody's black or a female or anything like that, or anything white. It's just, I hate races. I hate it because it's stupid. It's just ridiculous. But it's not about that. You could also say, like, are you trying to make a game that's realistic? Do you want a game? See, it's a problem for people like me, because I'm always, when they do these games, step one is does it make the game cool and good? So you've got to do that. It doesn't. Historical accuracy comes second in a game. In a documentary, historical accuracy comes first. In a game, it's the coolness and the sort of feel of the game, like you're there and with it. But because of the world we live in at the minute, and because of the woke agenda and the feminism and the all-female this and the Black Lives Matter, it's just to the point where you're like, video games are escapism, and this is clearly. But we're now past 2020 when it was silly. They just openly said it. Now it's like, oh, I'm a narrative consultant. Oh, we know what you mean. You're a feminist consultant. Let's be honest. Come on. You know what I mean? So it's a case of, it would have been amazing if they'd have put a Japanese ninja in this. Just a ninja who was a samurai, who was working, and they're working against Oda Nobunaga. I don't even know what this story's about. It's a bit weird. And then Yasuke's there, and Yasuke appears as a character, a special character you can unlock and play. Yes, mint. You can also unlock a female who goes inside, and you have to use. So if it was me running this game, it would be, right, male Japanese assassin, and you go, blah, 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 doing this, creeping, this. Female is running all the intellectual inside, sort of like listening to conversations, doing all that. Shifting stuff, finding stuff, hiding notes of paper for people to find, and opening doors at night for them. And then when you'd got to a certain level, you could open this character, which is Yasuke, the black warrior from, he's a massive chap and he's just smashing through stuff, and you could do that. But they didn't do that, did they? They just made it naff. Just like everything you want to happen, they did the reverse.
Really thought about somebody like Yasuke historically, who was able to come to Japan and have the life that he did there, to enter service for Oda Nobunaga and achieve all of the things that he did. Like, what kind of person would go through all of this? So our Yasuke is very intelligent, thoughtful, and respectful of this culture that he encounters, and that makes him a very nice sort of counterpart to Naue. He's a bit mysterious as well, and that's something we get to see unfold as the game progresses.
And it's like, basically, here, first of all, I call this the Stormtrooper problem. And the Stormtrooper problem is that they're all wearing armour, but they all get shot, and it don't do now. Those samurai wearing armour, and Yasuke could not cut through armour with a tachi like that side, which is really annoys me. You can do some serious damage to armour. You can, like, proper with force. We've done experiments with Iron Mountain armories, and they've crushed in. You can see the armour does dent, and we know how you get through with a spear. It takes multiple smashes to get through the heavily stitched armour. You're breaking the stitches open. And if it slides down, you've got the yaridome at the bottom of the armour to stop it going into your groin and all this. We know all this stuff. But no, they all die. Stab with this one sword, all the way, they all die. What are they wearing armour for? One day, somebody will hire me to do a game one day, or a film, and they'll actually do it right. So it's like, what you want to see is people cutting people down without armor on, the lower class people getting cut down. Then a knight, a samurai comes along and it's like cling down. What am I going to get? Bang, bang, trying to get through his eye sockets because that's one of the moves. By the way, Ubisoft, if you've hired me, that's one of the moves. Clink, clink through their armor, trying to get in and pulling up there. How to decapitate people. It wasn't like, and you're dead, and you're dead, and you're dead. Come on, surely the world has moved on than the Stormtrooper problems. But anyway, so there is no issue. We're going to move on to the next video now. There is no issue with having Yasuke in this. In fact, Yasuke is a really interesting character, but make him his own game. Why shoehorn him in? It couldn't be any more shoehorned if you ask. If they did Yasuke, the game, and it's him from his beginning through to Oda Nobunaga and through the unification. The problem we've got is William Adams was literate and he wrote lots of stuff. We have no idea if Yasuke was literate. Most likely he wasn't, because most people outside of Japan then were not literate. We're talking like the 1580s. Most people in England are not literate. They're not. But we know that William Adams was, because he trained at a certain house in a certain time. I've got the book on this now. I'm just reading it with Frederick Kynes' new book. We know it. And he left letters and everything. And his writing's terrible. But Yasuke didn't leave anything. So we don't know anything about him, which is a shame because he could be as interesting a character. So we're just guessing now.
Cinematic design on Assassin's Creed Shadows.
And I'm Jonathan Dumont, creative director of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And today we're going to take a look at our reveal trailer of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
From the beginning, we really wanted to try to create this atmosphere of danger. So we're getting glimpses of our shinobi protagonist, Naue, as she chases down a target through the shadows. We want it to feel as though she has complete control over her environment, and a real homage to old ninja films where we just get like little glimpses of her in the background. Not really sure what we're seeing. And finally we get her incredible reveal here, Cloak.
I'm going to be honest, the trailer was good up to this point. It was like, yep, armor looks good, dark, sinister forest, I'm with you, okay, yep. Assassin's Creed style ninja, not an actual, that looks nothing like a ninja would actually look. But, okay, Assassin's Creed style ninja coming after you. Oh, it's a woman. Okay. You know, here we go. So it's like, oh, what this should have done, if you'd have done this right, should have been somebody's following him. They're running, and there's a guy with light samurai clothes on, a white headband because he's identifying himself for the ambush, and he's running, and black guy's running further away, and you see someone in the trees further away, and the next thing, the string of caltrops go out, and he stands, he goes down, he can't because he hasn't got the right shoes on. Then you see the shinobi shoe, which is made of hard leather, crunch the caltrops because they're bamboo spikes below them, and just keep going. And then somebody come up and pull him and cut his head off. You know, who you? I work for the shadows. Just done like that. And then the group stand up like that and look over him, eyes red, moon in the background, lightning goes, homage to old school. That's how it should have been done. No, it's just Doris from the local shop having a run because she's mint.
In Shadows.
Naue is from Iga. She is a farmer warrior, daughter of Fujibayashi Nagato. She is a capable person, let's say that. As we were going to learn in the trailer, she will be taking on a role of protector.
All I have ever known in my life.
What we're looking at is the province of Iga, the homeland of Naue. It's isolated a little bit in the mountains, and they were home of the shinobi. They come from here, or at least a portion of them come from here. And the interesting thing is, once we traveled to Japan and we visited this province, it came very clear how that world came together. Like, so it's sort of isolated in the mountains, sort of kept to itself. It's a very good representation, in my opinion, of that place.
Our land. Our customs. My family burns in the name of unification.
So I said, as I said before, Iga is isolated to a certain extent. No, isolated is the wrong term. It's defensible. It's defensible. That's why Oda Nobunaga had problems taking it, because it is a ring of mountains. It's a plateau in a ring of mountains. I've been there many, 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 many times, to the point of boredom. And it has major highways in that they can block off. Yep. It's not inaccessible. It's not isolated. It is defendable. defensible. And literally, this is the problem. Like, that bit's all right, actually. One of the guys speaking here sort of knows what he's talking about. He could have done a bit more on the research, but he sort of knows what he's talking about. It's partly the homeland of the shinobi, but basically we know the best shinobi came from Iga and Koka. That's all we know. All we know is the best shinobi come from Iga and Koka. We don't know where they originated. We know the word originates before Iga and Koka. The first ever mention of shinobi has a shinobi going past people of Iga, and the Iga people know nothing about shinobi no jutsu, so it's not the birthplace of it. We know that, but they do become very good at it because they can cut themselves off from other people, because of this mountain ring. But it is not isolated in that sense, but it's close. You know what I mean? I'm nitpicking there.
The ocean's filled with new ships.
So here we're in Sakai, a big port in Japan. The ships that we are seeing are Portuguese ships. They are a version of the black ships, or a lot of the merchant ships that were coming in and out of Japan at this point. A few came to Sakai, but mostly in Nagasaki, but for the sake of the trailer, it's happening in Sakai.
Greed.
The person we're seeing on screen is Oda Nobunaga. So he is known for being one of the three great unifiers of Japan. A very polarizing character, depending on which side you were.
We're seeing Yasuke's first audience here with Oda Nobunaga, and one of the reasons why this meeting could even happen is due to Oda's deep relations with the Portuguese through trade, which resulted in him becoming quite a force to reckon with when it came to the use of teppo. All this to say, Oda Nobunaga is an incredibly powerful figure at the time, very important to our story as well.
There are a lot of speculation about Yasuke's arrival in Japan. The most common one is that Yasuke came in a couple of years before this meeting, and he learned Japanese quite fast, and he was very fluent into the Japanese culture, and it impressed Oda. So his stature, of course, impressed Oda. He was seen as super big. His skin color was one thing as well, that the reports on the Chronicle of Oda say that was the first African man that Oda had ever seen. Oda asked him to stay with him, and this is what we know pretty much of the story of Yasuke. So there are a couple of elements that we will see also in the game that are historical reports of his presence, but then after that there's quite a bit of an interesting what if with him that will happen.
So the annoying bit is they've seemed to have done decent research on Yasuke. That's it. Basically, they've researched him quite well. And the reason being is there's not much to research at all. There really isn't. There's a few references to him, you know what I mean? It's not a massive amount of literature. And we don't know, what they don't mention, whether he was a slave or not. For obvious reasons, they don't mention these things anymore. But I think they think he might have either been a sailor off a Portuguese ship, or a slave, part of the slave trade, or a freed slave. Basically, these are the things that they're speculating. There's a lot of speculation because they just don't know, which is a real shame. But yes, we do know. I think we know at least that Oda Nobunaga took him on board and gave. Now, what we don't know, so for example, William Adams was taken on board for, by pun not intended, taken on because he's a sailor. He was taken on board because of his knowledge of piloting, and because of his knowledge of, well, he was a, sailor across basically the world. He had knowledge of all the ports and everything. What we don't know is why they took on Yasuke. We don't know. We don't know if Yasuke had just lived in Africa all his life and he'd been taken as a slave or as a sailor and he was taken there, or you never know. It could have been the captain of the ship. I don't know, but we think he was from a Portuguese ship, which means he wasn't. Most likely either a lower level crew member or a slave, and he seems to have probably been freed. Of course, they're not going to mention this in the bloody show, are they? Because you can't talk about history anymore like that. So, but I will, because it annoys me. So basically, because the other crew members that were with William Adams, only one of them, I think, also became samurai. I think the others didn't do very well. It means, so I'm speculating here that the people who did well were the people who could do well. But the other thing Yasuke had for him is his size would be huge, and his skin colour. Like, obviously, they've seen loads of Portuguese, they'd seen white lads, and European lads. But imagine Yasuke. Imagine if you were a warlord and you wanted a bodyguard, and a lad from Africa came along, and you're only 5 foot. That's a good bloody bodyguard, isn't it? But on the other hand, you might think, I would say it's not real. I would go for Yasuke being quite a clever lad, in the sense that there's going to be loads of sailors hanging around the ports, and there's going to be black lads there. In fact, you can see them on, on the pictures of the old Portuguese stuff. So it's he must have had something good about him, I think, because he rose up where the others didn't. Same as William Adams rose up where others didn't. So I think we can safely say Yasuke was a pretty cool guy.
Power.
The initial volley, this is a concept that we had very early on, this really cool idea of the initial reveal of Yasuke emerging from the gun smoke. To us, that really ties him to Oda's battle style, and as probably one of the most important people to Oda in our game specifically. And what we're seeing here is a battle between the Oda clan and another rival clan, as a big part of the unification was taking down some of these rival clans for territory. What we see is Yasuke cutting people down with a great deal of ease. These are all moves that are going to be in the game. We specifically made sure all the choreography shown in the trailer are all taken directly from gameplay itself.
Or choose another path.
Okay, what they should have done here, so they didn't understand samurai battle at all. They have not researched that one iota. It's just silly. What they should have done is have the Teppo firing, create the smoke. In fact, you should have had shots of them seeing them lighting smoke, the wind's in the right direction, Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you want to know, guys, I've written a book on Sun Tzu's Art of War, the full lot. Smoke screens going over, wind direction, and then all the gunshots going off, and the next thing, they move out in formation, the gunshots going, and then you get your wedge shape with your Ichiban Yari at the front. Now, this would have been perfect for Yasuke. So Yasuke's there, the biggest guy, and he's got his weapon, and his Ichiban Yari means number one spear, the guy allowed to go at the front to be the first into combat. And it should have been, and the drum beats are going, because you drum beat with it, and it's, hey, oh, hey, yo, like that, and then the next thing is Yasuke, bang, and then they just start running past him, for Frodo, what I mean? Why? But no, they just had him doing the old walking out the thingy, cutting people in half who've got armor on, Why do it? It's like the Shining Knight rescues the maiden from the tower, it's just like, no, you don't, that's not how medieval warfare worked.
So what we're seeing here is that Naoe and Yasuke do have allies in the world. Like every good shinobi, she has access to a network of spies and people that can help her and trade for information. And we're seeing here is somebody giving her information on the whereabouts of the person that she's looking for. In the game, you can switch between both characters as you please. They do have a life when they're not played, so when you switch back characters, you can see them do something different.
Okay, if these were real shinobi, that was the worst shinobi in shinobi I've ever seen. Monk praying because he's a hidden shinobi, he's been looking for information. She walks blatantly down the road with a sword on her back, not even as a female, just randomly walking around as a male. You know what I mean? Japan, 1580s, if girls walking around with a sword on her back and some sort of cool outfit, they'd be like, so not a normal female then? Yeah, it's alright, I'm just picking up this secret note from this guy, and I'm going to hand it to the massive, big foreigner there. There you go. That's the info you've been after. Why didn't he just get it off the guy? Why did she get it in basic view? Why go to that amount of rigmarole to say when Yasuke's sat on the corner? It's ridiculous. Or she's just kept that note in her hand for 6 miles as she's got to find him and gone, there you go. If he's only down the road, go down the road. Who designed that scene? It's the worst scene ever.
Most of our black box level designs allow for both playstyles to work kind of perfectly, and you can choose the one that you prefer. If you want to go in and just be full of brawn, cut people down with Yasuke, you have that option. If you want to take a sneakier option, well, you'll see what that looks like in a second.
Rebuild.
This is my favorite part, the wink.
A big thing we were pushing for in our trailer was to really humanize our protagonists. Real emotional stakes, make them feel like people you could actually see in real life, especially given that Yasuke is based off a real person. We wanted to be authentic, at least somewhat, to a full breadth of emotions that he could portray.
And follow the blade.
It always makes me laugh, this. Human emotion is one of those things you can show, and it's wonderful, and they've done, that's a good thing to do. But they never show, they always show a modern, not even modern, they just show a perceived modern idea of human emotion. An African man from Africa, any man from 1580, right, who's becoming a warrior, who's travelled the world and is in the middle of a war and has done well, right, is not going to be the nicest of men. Let's be honest. They're not. Every human is complex, but the problem is people are also simple and stupid. So humanity is complex, emotions are complex, but they also follow the mob and they follow their times. And this is a major thing. He probably would have been a right bastard. Let's be honest. I bet you William Adams as well wasn't the nicest chap in the world if you met him a day. Not to say they can't be nice. Of course they're going to be nice, but people are. But medieval Japan, execution, torture, religious persecution, invasion, oppression, slavery on all sides. Slaves. Japan had some. But you know what they never speak about? Japan's slave trade. Japan had a slave trade. It was banned around this time, I think, or roughly. It's one of those. There's a really weird difference between basically white people were being taken as slaves, black people were being taken as slaves, Japanese people were being taken as slaves up until modern, up until relatively modern times or pre-modern times. And they never, ever, ever really discussed the difference between slavery and serfdom. And I think sometimes it's a big difference. Serfdom in Europe, I sometimes wonder if it'd be better to be a slave. You don't pay for now. But serfdom is slavery where you pay to be a slave. So you're not allowed to marry who you want. You can't have sex in a certain way. You've got to wait. You can't go with this. You can't leave the village. You can't work for anyone else. You've got to stay in the house you were given. That house could be taken away from you at any moment. You could be executed. To me, it sounds exactly... But you pay for the privilege. So I always wondered this. If the difference with slavery is that you're often taken to a place that is not your home. But with serfdom, you're in your home, but a slave inside your home. So it's a really complicated one. But actually, it's a difficult one, that. Basically, lovely emotions from someone who's a warlord or a war character. It's a difficult one because humans are complex and emotional. But what they do in this modern world is they make them really nice. Oh, let's save the little baby, right? He was on Oda Nobunaga's side. They were slaughtering children. They, like everybody else was, slaughtering monks, slaughtering this, slaughtering that. Oda Nobunaga is perceived as the most cruel and gruesome, but he's not that much cruel and gruesome than the other people, to be fair. In fact, he's probably about as singularly samurai as you're ever going to get. Anyway, stop ranting, Cummins.
We developed quite a bit of new tools for Naoe and stealth, and one of them is the grappling hook. And the grappling hook allows you to climb over walls that you cannot climb with Yasuke or without the hook, which opens different paths for Naoe. And there's quite a bit of hook points in the game, so within every layout that you're going to see, and sometimes to come in from a different entry point. So it's an integral part of their stealth arsenal, as she can navigate much faster into the open world.
Please speak to me, Ubisoft. Right, ninja grappling hooks, right? They are only meant for... There's various versions. The normal one is only meant for a 7-foot wall. And you stand your sword on, put your grappling hook up, and you go up and you pull your sword. She's outside a castle wall. A large medieval castle wall, which was starting to be designed at this time period, which is correct. They started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But so they didn't use those for those walls. They actually used pitons. So basically they've got a selection of spikes. We know this from multiple books, but one of the best ones is Egan and Coca Ninja Skills. And they have a selection of pitons on a string, and you put it in and put it in. Or you get a ladder where you creep up there. The ladder, a rope ladder, has piton spikes on it, and you pull them up, go to the next one like a caterpillar, and keep going up. It takes a long time, but you're doing it. You then drop down a rope, which you can use a grappling hook, a long rope, for your other friends to get up. You don't just go... Oh, there's a convenient little stick there. It's just like, come on. It's not 1981. Get over it.
And that's one of the big changes between Yasuke and Naoe. One of the key differences is her ability to take a much more vertical approach. And a lot of our locations are big castles, big tenshu's with these giant walls. And it offers her a whole new vantage point for a lot of these missions where Yasuke doesn't have necessarily the same opportunity.
Now we can fight and hold her own against a few enemies, but she's not a big brawler like Yasuke is to take on a horde of enemies, right? She is light armored and she's quick and she's agile.
And that's definitely one of the key elements, her sheer speed. She's very, very quick and extremely lethal. But as soon as she's seen, the danger really rises for her, and she's got to get out of there as fast as possible.
What that guy said and what was happening on screen were two totally different things. I don't think he was watching the same video I was watching. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have a female and she's going to be an assassin. You're going to be like, you want her to never be seen. You want it to be, if she's seen, she's brutally attacked. So the gameplay is like stealth. Remember, Tenchu, you have to really play in stealth. Yasuke just comes out, starts smashing everybody down. This would be stealth. She was not stealthy there. She literally was killing 3 or 4 armored samurai in one go. She at one point kicked a samurai spear into the other samurai, murdered him, murdered them, which was the danger for her. And not only that, they're high-level samurai, and they just get samurai so wrong. It's like, I'm an armored samurai. I walk around on my own, or we're 3 mates walking around. No, you've got levels. You get, basically, each samurai has helpers, and a samurai basically is a squad of 5. Imagine a samurai as a tank. He's the armor in the middle, and the drivers and the assistants are all there. So he's the tank, but instead of the crew being inside his body, the crew are on the outside. He's got his groom, his lead for his horse. He's got helmet bearers, side assistants and things like that. That's how samurai work, and they come together, and they're sort of helped by their mates. And yes, at times those people will be putting there. But those guys just walking along a castle wall, like, it just doesn't feel right. They've got really high-ranking samurai armor and they're guards, and it's like, or them the high-ranking samurai who are the thinkers of the team, or the Hatamoto, or the frontline fighters, just seem to be randomly together, wandering around in threes, and it's just convenient for someone to kick their spear into the next person. It's just like, no, you could really you only need with stuff like that, you only need one of them. And he's a small unarmoured friend looking out for him, a samurai without armour on or light armour looking out, and it'd be a problem. Imagine, she's walking along and you're doing all this, and the next thing she's killing off, she's sneaking in, killing off people like that, but then a fully armoured samurai comes up, the gameplay's like, oh shit. Backwards, clink, the leather stretching. Right, I know he's got people with him, where are they? And not only that, if they listen to me, you actually get light patrol who have torches and dark patrol who don't. And that would have been amazing to play out. In fact, you should have ditched all this and just gone for a Japanese shinobi game. Ubisoft, talk to me. I'll get you an amazing Japanese ninja game. Someday, bombard Ubisoft. I was told the other day there was actually a petition to get me in the Ubisoft game somewhere. The first time I heard it, but it was amazing.
Is destruction in the game, Joe? Are some things breakable in our game, would you
shit
say?
is breakable in the game. Part of our dynamic world and the dynamism that we created for Japan goes also in the low-level destruction. So the weapons that we've put a lot of little technological breakthroughs for our weapons, where you can destroy a large amount of props in the game. You could see him plow through the Suji doors. You could, destroy a full market if you wanted with the Kenobo. Obviously, the goal is still not to break everybody's stuff, but Yasuke can do it, as well as Naoe, depending on the weapons they're using.
That's right. Yasuke's not the only one that can break through those shoji doors. Now he can assassinate people through them.
This is a weapon that Yasuke can carry around in the game. It's called a Kenobo. It's a very heavy weapon that does a lot of damage. It's a little bit of a slower weapon compared to katana, for example. But it is a weapon that brings a lot of destruction as Yasuke wields it. And Yasuke is a strong man, so he is the perfect candidate to handle the Kenobo in the game.
Personal opinion, but if you're going to have a Kill Bill vibe, don't do it in a medieval game. I don't know. I've not played the other Assassin's. As I've seen Assassin's Creed played, I've watched whatever show they put out and all that, and watched the film, and so I've got a vague idea of Assassin's Creed. I know it's not set in the actual time. It's a weird computer frame mind thing, which, whatever. So yes, you can be in Japan. I get that. No problem. He's gone through a magical portal. It's a game, and off you are in Japan. But is it Kill Bill Japan? I don't know.
I said, who do you serve? We are the shadows.
That served the light.
The hidden blade has two functions, so it can come out as a regular hidden blade, like for stabbing people. But now we can extrude the second portion and flip it so that she has a dual wield using a smaller weapon called a tanto and her hidden blade at the same time. So that's a very fast damaging situation for most people that are fighting her at that time.
And what Joe touched on is something that I know fans have been wanting for a long time, to bring back hidden blade combat, like being able to just fight with your hidden blade. And we brought that back with the Tanto style. It's very cool, very fast, once again, very lethal in Naoe's hands. When it came to the name of the game, that was something I remember Joe talking about, making sure we had some sort of base into the original lore. And this line was always something that really stuck out with you. We put it in the trailer as well as a kind of punctuation, shadows. They are working in the shadows to serve the light. And that's always been the callback we wanted to conjure with this. Paired with that is also our renewed emphasis on stealth in this game. There are a lot of new mechanics we've added. There are a lot of really interesting tools we've given Naoe. I think for fans of stealth, you're going to be extremely pleased with some of the mechanics we've added into the game.
And a little bit on a meta level for both characters, Naoe being a shinobi, but coming from a place that is not necessarily prominent or just at the forefront of the conflict, but a little bit more emerging back from the shadows. It fits with her. And Yasuke as well, coming from a background that's outside of Japan. They are lurking in the shadows, but they are doing so to protect the land. This is a very interesting narrative that will flow towards something pretty positive for us in the game and very satisfying in my opinion.
Thank you so much for watching. Assassin's Creed Shadows is out November 15th, and we cannot wait to show you more.
Okay, guys, so, number one, a game has to be cool. You have to want to play it. It's got to be cool. There's no point in being historically accurate if it's boring and nobody wants to play it. It's got to be cool. It's got to fulfill the expectations of the main buyers of your game, because they're the people giving you money allowed to do this. It's got to be what they want, or something they didn't know they want, and it's better than what they want. So why on earth is the male... I don't know the story, guys, but why on earth is that male character from Assassin's Creed not here doing his assassin-y stuff? I don't know. Why is the character changed? I always remember it's the same sort of character. His hood, his knife, and he used to go to different places. But again, I don't know. I haven't played the game. So I've only seen it through Thingy. So, Assassin's Creed, right? Okay, they've done this now, they've done this Yasuke stuff. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to buy it. They get no money off me. And I don't mean that nastily. It's just I'm never going to buy it because I'm not that. But if they did a Shinobi game and it was like... Imagine I wasn't me and I was just not the author Anthony Cummins and I was just somebody who really liked Shinobi and I'd read all of Anthony Cummins' work and my name was Joe and I'm like not really into computers and all that, but this game came out that was super historically accurate. Shinobi tactics, ambushes, the way that they infiltrate houses, double dog, small dog, big dog. I'm not going to bore you with it all, but I could go into tons and tons of ninja stuff. I would probably go and buy a console and I would probably go and buy that game. And I would play that game, even though I don't play computer games. I'm not joking. If it came out at me, who I don't own a console for computer games, video games as X-Gens call it. I don't own one. But I would buy one to play the game. So, Ubisoft, why oh why do you not just hire me? Whatever the problems are, and when we spoke in 2008, I sent you a letter. I lived in Japan. You're in Shibuya. The offices were in Shibuya. And I think I personally dropped the letter off myself at the door. I can't remember. I think I did. I went to the offices and put them in the post box because you can't get through. I've tried it before in computer games places. Why on earth do we not just make a ninja game? No messing about with modern politics. No inserting this political agenda and all that. And I know we all know what you're trying to do. You've done it in a slightly okay way. But just let's make it be Japanese. People, I don't understand that, where people say, oh, they need to identify with the character to immerse themselves. No, you don't. I don't ever. I love the character Blade. I love vampires. Vampires are my favourite thing in the world. And I love Blade. But I don't ever think, if I imagine myself a Blade, I'd imagine myself black. I wouldn't imagine myself white. I'd be black. Same as if I was like on the ancient sort of, I don't know if Africa has steppes, but basically sub-Saharan Africa. The beginning of humankind, which is one of my favourite eras of history, is like my actual favourite era of history is European history, when the first settlers came out and met Neanderthals. I think it's the most amazing idea. And you know, you don't think, oh, it's good old Northern English milk bottle man. You know what I mean? You sort of like, you sort of put yourself in context. And I have to imagine myself in Japanese context 1,000 times a day because of the work I do. And I never put myself in that. I always imagine myself as Japanese. So I don't understand why they keep going on about this stuff. But anyway, that's their decision. They've made that decision. That decision will play out in whether people buy the game or go against it. I do know there's a lot of people saying it's a bit wokey and crap. But Ubisoft, let's just make a good computer game about ninjas, real ninjas in Japan. Let's treasure Japanese culture, because I have spent my life dedicated to cherishing and saving Japanese culture. Okay, I'm not Japanese, but for some reason I want to do it, and I like to do it. So let's do that. Let's think about the Japanese for a change. Let's sort their culture out. So guys, somebody get this to Ubisoft for me, and we'll see if we can make some at work. Oh yeah, so basically, if you're interested in Ninja, what you should do, if you've waited this, guys, if you're a computer gamer, that's the book you want, Ninja Skills. Get Ninja Skills. It's the most quickest, easiest book for you to get. That'll tell you about ninjas, totally. And then if you really, really like ninjas, you want to get the Book of Ninja. But if you just want to know about how to use samurai stuff today, that's what you want. How to be a modern samurai. I should get a new version of that, and it's a bit tattered down. That's what you should get. Help me out, guys, or watch The Man Who Killed the Ninja. Okay, enjoy. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Anthony Cummins. If you want to follow me online, you can follow me on YouTube on Samurai and Ninja History with Anthony Cummins, where I'll deal with all the history of the samurai and the ninja. You can follow me on Samurai Martial Arts Real Training. This is where you'll get only the physical, you'll get only the martial arts. You can follow me on Natori Ryu, where I teach and show all the different strategies and warfare related to the Natori family. Now, outside of this, I also do some other things. So you can join me on Western Culture and Tradition, where I look at the little bits of information from the West, our folklores, our customs. You can also join me on Warduke. This is purely a fantasy channel, a little bit of fun for me in my spare time. If you're on Instagram, you can follow me again on Samurai and Ninja History. This is my basic account. And again, getting back to the fantasy, you can follow me on the Dungeon Crawl, where I'll go through everything that's eerie, dungeon synth, and all of those fantasy elements. And finally, I put some of my art on all Space Marine chapters. I do this just so I can do a little bit of art and keep up to date with the artistic world and keep my skills alive. I hope to see you there, guys, and I look forward to all of the comments on my posts and videos.